англійською мовою ваше ім'я, бо Ранія буде таку автограф-сесію робити після цього заходу, щоб вона правильно проспелінгувала ваше ім'я. Якщо вам потрібна ручка, можна зробити. Тому що потрібна книжка, включена принц.
So here we are for the official beginning. Welcome, everyone. If you need to wear the headsets for translation, please put them on. Are they working? Can everybody hear the translation? Those of you who are wearing it? Yeah? Okay. Great. So, my name is Christiane Hofland. I'm the director here at America House, and we just want to welcome you all to America House this evening. We're really excited also to have Ranieyu Anderson back. She was here last year. She inspired us all. We're very grateful to the U.S. Embassy for having her book translated into Ukrainian, which is the point of our meeting tonight. It's the launch of the book in Ukrainian. And to open our event this evening, it is my pleasure to welcome the Public Affairs Counselor from the U.S. Embassy, Karen Robley.
Доброго вечора. What a pleasure it's to be here today to welcome you to America House, our prime central cultural center here in Kyiv. And thank you to Christiane for your hard work and all the hard work of the America House team to put this together and to manage Rania's program here as we celebrate Women's History Month. And I think it's a really great way to finish up well, not finish because we're going to keep going even through the year, but to celebrate, it's the end of the month, to celebrate Women's History Month. Rania is the world's leading expert on the career advancement of women in developing and emerging economies, growth economies like Ukraine. She regularly shares her expertise with Fortune 100 companies, little companies like American Express, GM, Microsoft, and P&G. And she's developed a groundbreaking model to help managers more deliberately recruit, retain, and promote women. And we know that when countries and companies do that, they're more productive. So this is good for everybody. She's the author of the acclaimed book Undeterred, which I think you all have in your hands now, The Six Success Habits of Women in Emerging Economies, the first career advice book expressly written for educated women in developing and emerging economies. Rania interviewed hundreds of successful women, entrepreneurs, and leaders in countries in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Asia, and Latin America to share the professional habits and mindsets that enabled them to succeed on their own terms. So this is a lot of experience, a lot of accumulated experience that in this book and that Rania has and that we're going to hear about. Rania found that despite the various cultural contexts, obstacles, and resistance, successful women around the world embraced 6 key habits. These insights are collected in this timely and engaging book, Undeterred, and offers valuable lessons on how women can advance their career success and help one another through mentoring. None of us does it alone, right? Rania shows that women in growth economies like Ukraine have more opportunities than ever before. And she writes that if you are a woman of working age in a growth economy, like, for example, in Ukraine, this is your time. You are in the right place at the right time to capitalize on unprecedented opportunities for women. You have the education, the talent, and desire to affect change for yourself, your family, your community, and the world, and you live in a country where it is now possible for you to do that. Rania was, as Christiane mentioned, was here last year, and we're thrilled to have her back again. And as a result, Rania's visit last year inspired us to launch Own It, which is a Women in Leadership. Own It, Women in Leadership. This is an initiative to inspire and empower young women to become Ukraine's future leaders by offering mentoring and networking opportunities with successful businesswomen. Based on the success of her first visit, we wanted to bring her back, and she's just earlier this week was in Slovyansk and Kramatorsk, where her message could be shared with aspiring women entrepreneurs and leaders in the Donetsk region. So we're thrilled to have Rania here. We were thrilled to have the opportunity to translate the book into Ukrainian, working with the Lviv-based Litopis publishing house, so that Ukrainian women can use this remarkable book in developing the skills that will help to transform, innovate, and shape the future of Ukraine. So we hope that you'll be inspired by the talk as this evening, and that you will remain undeterred in your pursuit of career advancement and success. So thank you. Дуже дякую.
Am I good? What is remarkable about what Karen said is the commitment that the embassy has shown and the American House has shown to an important topic, and the role that they play in their part in making space for women and men to advance in the economy. I think it's really remarkable to have this level of commitment and this longevity of program. So that's their commitment. But what I want to talk about next is your commitment. So you decided to come tonight, and there's literally millions of other things that you could have done. So I want to ask you, right here? Okay, sorry, forgot about that. I want to ask if anybody came to hear me speak last year. Just, okay, the woman from and one person. Okay, good. I would like for you to close your eyes for 1 minute, in a second, and I would like you to think, why did I come here today? And what do I want to do from what I hear? Okay, and we're just going to be quiet it's hard to be quiet. We're just going to be quiet for a minute. Okay? So I'm happy if you're inspired, but I'm not trying to inspire you. What I want you to do is take an action tomorrow that is different than the one you took today. So the embassy did its part. I took 3 planes, cars to come, and I'm here to ask you to do your part. Not for me, not for the embassy, but for yourself, for your family, for what you want. Okay, so today is about action. I'm going to talk about what I've learned through my research. People think I'm here to talk. I'm actually always here to listen to what you have to teach me. So we're going to talk together. But I'm going to give you my research, and then I'm going to talk in great detail about women just like you. What do they do to be successful in a country like Ukraine? Some of the things you might have heard already. Some of the things you might not know. Some of the things you might think, that's stupid. It doesn't matter. Listen for what you can use, not what you can't. All right? And you will find it. Okay. Somewhere is my thing. I'm going to take just very short time to tell you a little bit about me, because it's very important to what I do, and it's something that I want you to think about for yourself. So Karen said I was in the eastern part of Ukraine earlier this week. I will tell you that I am a child of IDPs twice, who grew up in war and moved twice to their countries. I am an American citizen by choice and gratitude. And I started my career as a banker. And I've then left banking and started my business. And I still have that business. And then when I turned 50, which is almost 7 years ago, I took the money out of my own business to do the research globally to interview women just like you. I didn't want to know what their problems or struggles or obstacles are because we already know this. We can talk about obstacles, barriers for days, right? I wanted to know, how do they succeed? How does a woman who lives in Saudi Arabia who can't drive be successful, right? How does a woman in Mexico who is in a paternal culture succeed? What do women like you in Ukraine do? And that was the basis of my well, why did I want to do this? One of the places I lived growing up was in India. And when I was 11 years old and I went to school every day, I noticed that many other girls were in the street not going to school. And I asked myself, how come I get to go to school and they don't? I never could figure that out as a kid. By the way, for those of you who become moms, when your child is around 11 to 13, they begin to form the opinion of what they're going to be able to do. It's a really critical age. So I had this thing that never left me. I also have a sister, she's 4 years younger than I am. And when my mother would ask us to do chores around the house, she would say, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. You know, like make the bed, put the table. She would say, I don't have to know how to do this because when I get old, I'm going to marry general manager of 5-star hotel. I'm going to live in the hotel. Everybody's going to do this. And just like you're laughing now, everybody laughed and said, it's a great idea, Nayla. How you should marry the general manager of the 5-star hotel. So you should do that. She would say it all the time. Everybody said that to her. And every time they said it, I asked myself the question, how come nobody says, why don't you become the general manager of the hotel? How come nobody says, why don't you own the hotel? How come nobody says, why don't you build the hotel? And then later I thought, how come they didn't tell her to be the disruptor of the hotel industry like Airbnb, right? So these are defining moments, little moments in your life that make you who you are, and you have those moments. These are moments that shaped who I am, and throughout my career, I kept thinking, one day I'm going to need to do something for these women around the world who didn't get to go to school or who didn't have a chance to study with Madeleine Albright like I did at Georgetown University, mom didn't say, be the general manager. And that's why I decided to do this work. Most people erroneously believe that I do the work that I do because I want to help women. It's not true. I don't think you need help. I think you're perfectly capable on your own. I do it because I am a business person and I believe in growing an economy. I know that when we have a strong economy and we all have jobs, we are better off. Our children are better off. And I know that the world, not just the developing world, is terrible at utilizing the assets of the most valuable resource they have, which is you, women. It's like there's gold in the streets and they're walking over it, right? So I know that if you are fully participating in the Ukraine economy, things are going to change. The data tells me that only if some of you do more, we're going to generate $12 trillion in global GDP. We have some courageous, wonderful men in the room. I'm really happy to see them, and I want to talk about that. I think the way we're going to get to where we need to go is by inviting men to work with us on the process, and that we're going to do it together. I don't think we are better than men. I don't think they're better than us. But I know 100%, Karen talked about it, that when we're together, we're definitely better. Everything we do is better. We make better decisions. We're more creative. We make more money. We run better governments. So that's why I do what I do. And my first question to you to think about is, why do I do what I do? And maybe you don't know the answer. I'm 57, you're 25, but keep looking for the answer, right? Okay. So Karen told you I interviewed these women around the world only in developing and emerging economies. And I interviewed women who were in their 20s, women in their 60s. Purposefully, I didn't interview any of these, fancy schmancy, most successful Fortune 100. No, none of those. We already know them. We don't care. I mean, we care, but okay, we know their story. I just want regular women, went to regular schools, regular jobs. How did they succeed? And so looking for how did they succeed, not what is their problem. And this is what I found. I'm going to give you a quick overview, and then we're diving into the details. So there were 6 habits. You're going to say, yeah, I know all this already. The first is that they are undeterred. It doesn't mean they work harder, they don't give up. It means that they find a way. They find a way, no matter what, they're going to find a way. Earlier today, I met a Ukrainian startup entrepreneur. And she has a product, a medical device product. And it's really hard to be a woman in a startup, a woman in a science and technology, to get funding. Women around the world don't have a hard time getting funding. She's doing it, right? Right here, she's figuring out how to do it. How do they do it? Well, they prepare themselves to succeed by learning what they need to learn. Information, knowledge, by being curious, and by preparing themselves, like really knowing that they are capable of succeeding. They focus, they have a goal, this is what I want to do, like you just talked to me about. They might change this goal, but they have a goal. They integrate their work into their life. What does that mean? They don't think that work is separate from life. They know that work has to fit into life. That you can be a mom, you can be a daughter, you can be a wife and still have work and be fulfilled. And they figure out how they're going to do that. They accelerate, meaning they do the things that help them get ahead. I'm going to focus a lot on this habit because one of the most important things that I can tell you today is what made you successful to where you are today is not the same thing that's going to get you to the next level. So if you've been doing a great job and you're doing well in your job and you want something else, if you keep doing what you're doing now, you're not getting there. You have to do something different. And I'm going to tell you what the something different is. And lastly, they lead no matter what their job, right? If they're just starting a career, they're an administrative assistant, they see what needs to be done and they take a leadership role. Gentlemen, you might ask, are these things that men do? Yes, absolutely. as much of what I'm going to say is going to relate absolutely to you. There are some differences of what women need to do, and I'll point those out. So for you, this hopefully will also be helpful. Okay. The things I'm going to talk about, they're going to seem like so small. But if you make them, you take them, things are going to be different. Like, what's an example of that? Okay, one of my favorite interviews I ever heard was with an American who won the gold medal in hurdles. You know hurdles? Yeah? So they were interviewing him. Erez Merritt is his name, and they said, Erez, how did you win the race? He said, well, I used to start with my left foot, and then I realized if I started with my right foot, I'm going to take one less step than everybody else. Boom, won the race. So what I'm talking to you about is that small. Okay? It's not hard, but it's consciousness. I didn't say something at the beginning about the habits. It takes all 6 of them. You can't like, oh, I'm so focused and none of the others, right? It doesn't work that way, right? You need all of them. Okay, so we're talking about being undeterred, and it's about finding a way, right? What's the path forward, right? My absolute favorite story and interview of the book is from a woman in Saudi Arabia. And she was invited to come and give a presentation like this, only she was coming from this door. And when she arrived, the organizers met her outside and they said, thank you for coming, we're excited to have you. When you come in the room, you're going to see that there's a big screen. You're going to stand behind the screen. She said, why would I do that? They said, well, there's some men in the room. They don't want to see you. And she goes, what do you mean they don't want to see me? They don't want to see you. She said, do they want to hear me? Of course, you're an expert on this topic. She said, well, if they want to see me, if they want to hear me, they have to see me. Anyway, back and forth an argument. They kept saying to her, it's not a big deal. She's like, absolutely, it's a big deal. I'm not standing behind the screen. She was about to leave, and then she had an idea. She opened the door and she said to everyone, please, I'm giving you 5 minutes notice. I'm coming. And if you don't want to see me, please take your chair and turn it to the back of the room. Okay? This is a Muslim country. She didn't tell the men, you have to see me, right? She said, if you don't want to see me, that's your right. But I am going to stand where I want to stand. I am going to be visible. Today, this woman is the COO of General Electric Healthcare in the entire region, okay? Because no matter what, it's going to find a way. Preparing, being ready for success. Some people think that they're getting ready for success, but they don't really believe they're going to succeed. It's like, I'm doing all these things, but probably it's not going to work out, right? That's not what I'm talking about. So, one of the things that people say about women all the time, everywhere, maybe they tell you to your face, it's like, women are not confident. Women need more confidence. You should be more confident. Do they say that? Yeah. Well, it's ridiculous. Confidence is not something you are or you are not. It's a feeling that you change by an action. If you're not feeling confident, you can't think your way to more confidence. You have to act your way to more confidence. So how do you act your way to more confidence? It's not saying to yourself, oh, I should be more confident. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's thinking about what should I contribute and how am I going to contribute it, right? So I was speaking to someone who's a lawyer, right? And so then you say to yourself, in this law firm, what am I going to contribute that people are going to notice? And then I'm going to feel good about that, and then I'm going to take another step. So one of my favorite lawyers in Ukraine is Lisa, and she talks about how she came to work at Naftagaz, and she became an expert in all the little details. And she was just like not an important person, a junior person. And in the meetings, like the ministers or the high-ups would ask questions, and nobody knew the answer because it was the new laws, and she would say the answer. And they're like, who's this girl? Again, 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 because she was preparing, right? She knew that she could contribute this answer. Do you think they asked her to work with them? Of course. They want to be successful. And that gave her more confidence, so she spoke up more, right? That's how it works. So if you're feeling not confident, think about what you can contribute. Okay, to think about what you can contribute, you have to know where you're going, right? If you want to go to Paris, you have to take different clothes, different plane than if you want to go to China, right? It's the same in work. So you have your own photography, right? So I don't know, do you want to be a famous photographer, or do you want to have a photography business? Or do you know what I mean? So it depends which one you're going to take a different action, okay? If you don't know where you're going, then you have to figure it out, all right? So how do you figure it out? Where's the lady who asked me that? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to talk about many ways to figure out where you're going. Maybe one of them will work for you, all right? So the first thing that you want to do, and you can maybe, I don't think I have this slide. No. Okay. You're going to think about, what do I love to do? What am I good at doing? What is needed? What is needed? And this thing that's needed that people are willing to pay for. Where those four things come together, I love it, I can do it, people need it, and they can pay for it, gives you a clue for what you should do. One of the things that I hear women say a lot is, I want to, be a fashion designer. Okay? Well, do we need another fashion designer? Why are we having another maybe we do. Because you have an idea of some kind of clothing that people don't have that they want. But if you don't know what they want, then you can't figure out where you're going with it. Okay, that was one strategy. The second strategy is, this is not my strategy, it's called info sponging. It was developed by an American. This is what you do. Okay, call me crazy, but it works. Every single day, you read an article about something you didn't know anything about and has nothing to do with you. So if you're a lawyer, I want you to read about photography. If you're a photographer, you're going to read about law, right? If you work in a real estate company, you're going to read about fashion. Then to the next day, you're reading about Chinese. The third day, you're reading about automotive parts. Physics, whatever, okay? Even if you don't understand what it says, it doesn't matter. Read it, okay? When you're done reading, you can ask all of these questions or one of these questions. And this is the question. What do I remember from this? What do I think about this? And how do I feel about it? And you write this on a small piece of paper or a Post-it note if you have one. And then if you have a wall, you stick them all on. You don't have a wall, you put them all out. And I promise you, it's like a puzzle. Somehow after 30 days is something there that you're supposed to know. Because you see, what you want to do, it's already inside you. You're just not able to tap into it. You have to use a process to help you think unconsciously to get to the what's inside of you, right? Another strategy is go around talking to people. See what they're doing. See what you like about that, right? So there's lots of ways to think about it. There's also sit quietly and think. When I tell people that, they ask me, do I mean meditation and yoga? No, I don't mean that. I mean just like sit and think. Like don't look at your phone. Don't read. Don't talk. Just sit. We're not very good at being quiet, and the noise, we can't hear ourselves because there's too much noise. Okay, integrate. Work is a part of life. It's not work, it's life. It's not balance. It's not juggling. It's not craziness, right? It is, work is a part of life. And I'm going to talk about some specific strategies for how women like you do it, because I get asked a lot of those questions. And the way that they do it is to do it their way, right? You know, it doesn't matter if somebody thinks, oh, you should come home and fix dinner for your husband. Maybe you're going to eat takeout every night or cereal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if people think you should get up and, you know, feed your kids, whatever. You figure it out how you're going to do it. Whoops. And how do you do that? So I'm going to give a few tips. The first one is called don't apologize. What do I mean by that? Women, do you ever count how many times you say you're sorry in a day? And we're also very sorry at work. This is what we say at work. Boss, I'm so sorry. Oh, boss, I have to leave today because my son is la la la, or my mom is such and such, and I'm really sorry. What are you sorry about, right? You did all your work. You already worked extra, probably. So why don't you say to the boss, boss, I need to leave today at 3 o'clock. All the work is under control. I'll be here in the morning. Maybe that you're going to be online later or whatever. You know, it's under control. I'll see you, I'm sure that's fine, boss. Okay. Leave. Then we apologize to our families and our kids, right? We say to our husband, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't fix dinner. To our children, I'm sorry I couldn't go to your football game. I'm sorry, right? Why are we sorry? Because we're making money so that the child can go to the soccer, play football? And we're sorry because we're working so that the husband and I can have a better life? Why are we sorry? Why don't we just say, today I'm going to go and hear a lecture. I won't be home, for dinner. And when I get home, I'm going to be so excited to hear about your day, and you're going to hear about mine. Right? Because we like what we do. And we're happy to do it. So why do we apologize? The third strategy is to not ask for help. What does that mean? So we often say to the people we work with, can you help me and do this? Can you help me and make these copies? Can you help me, right? when what you're asking someone to do is their job, right? They're not helping you, they're doing their job. So you should just say, hey, can you make these phone calls? We need to do this, right? Thank you so much, I appreciate it. And then at home we say to our husband or our kids, can you help me and fold the clothes, right? They're not helping you, they're doing the work of the house. And when that person doesn't do it like you wanted them to do it, just forget about it, because it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, if it's terrible, you fix it. But if it's not exactly the same as you would do it, and nobody's going to die, the building is not going to fall down. So for example, if your husband puts the dishes in the dishwasher in a very stupid way, you just shut the dishwasher, run. Right? Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. It's not, nobody's going to evaluate which way the dishes went. And your colleague, if you ask them to put these papers together and they stapled them here, you wanted them stapled there, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. We don't create space sometimes for men because we ask them to do something and then we want them to do it exactly the way we want it. And then they can't meet the expectation and then they, you know, they don't want to do it anymore. And your colleagues are the same way. Okay. I can give more examples of this if you want. I see a lot of really young faces, so maybe you're not dealing with these things yet. Okay, accelerate. These are the things that really matter. These are the things that, remember I said what got you here is not what gets you where you want to go. So, all of us like to take the safe route. I know how to do this, I'm going to do it, I'm going to take this job. And that's good, right? You become good at what you do, and that's great. But in order to make it to the next level or to have your own business, you have to take the challenge, the difficult, this risky thing to do. And you have to figure out what is that thing. Okay? I'm going to give you an example. A woman was trying to get ahead in her company. She was working very, very hard. She was doing a great job. She was not getting promoted. She was not getting recognized. And the biggest client of this company where she worked, they were having a lot of problems with the client. The client was very unhappy. And she had an idea for how to change the way they were making with the client. And the company was going to make a lot more money because of her idea. But she's not an important person. So she waits for the CEO of the company when he arrives to work, and she gets in the elevator with him. And he says to her, "Hi, how are you? Good morning. By the way, if you're ever in the elevator with the CEO or an executive, when they say, 'Hi, how are you?' the answer is not 'Fine, how are you?' That's a wasted opportunity gone. The answer is always, 'I'm great. You know what I'm working on today? It's so exciting.' No, 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 no. You know, yesterday, you know what we did? We got a new client. It was cool. Right? That's what you tell the guy, because that's what he needs to know. He's like hoping, wishing somebody's going to tell him what's really going on, instead of all these people that are just telling him, oh, everything is la la la, right? And he's going to notice you. Okay, back to the woman. She's in the elevator. He says to her, "Hi, how are you?" Because she heard my talk. She said, "You know, I'm really worried about this client. And I have this idea, but it's a little bit crazy. What do you think he did?" Stop, get off the floor. Tell me. Right? it's not helpful for her to be the better client. It's helpful for him. It's his he's the CEO of the company. So you think he doesn't know who she is? Of course, right away, right? And over time, this is what happened. Okay, it's a risky move. The guy could say you're an idiot, right? Or not listen to you. But is that the kind of place you want to work? No. So what's the challenging thing you can do? The second part of accelerating is you have to work with a group of people, right? And I don't mean like going to events, chit-chat, hi, you know what we do. That's not it, right? You've got to think about your network, that you want a network that you know people that are higher than you, more influential and powerful. You want to know people who are more junior than you. You want to know people like you. You want to know people not like you. How do you get to know people and build a network? You don't go around asking them to do something for you. And you don't go around meeting people and talking for 30 minutes about yourself. The way you get to know people is by asking them questions, right? And about being generous, giving something, thinking about something that you can give. Somehow in this process, you have to go from being invisible. And earlier today, we had some Ukrainian women, and they were talking a lot about this, about how women here, when they're asked to do something, they do it, and they do it really well. But nobody knows they did it because they don't call any attention to themselves. I don't mean like boasting, yeah, I'm so great, right? But they just do the work and they think somebody is going to, sleeping at night thinking about them and their career and, she's very nice, I'm going to promote her. No, nobody's doing that. They're sleeping and thinking about themselves, right? So the person who has to think about you is you. And to think about how am I going to be visible to people? What am I going to do about that? And for that, you have to lead and think a little strategically about where you're going. You do that by working less on what you need to do. You have to do what you need to do. But you need to think about what shouldn't you do? What aren't we doing that we should be doing? Right? These are the things that get you ahead, right? By making space, not, okay, I did all the jobs, now I go home, but thinking about, well, if we did this, here's what would happen. Of all the things that women can do, I'm going to say this a few times, and men, this is different for you. Of all the things that women can do to help themselves get ahead, there are two things that make the biggest difference. The first is being able to communicate your achievements, what you accomplished, and your aspirations, what you want. Okay? If you can't do that, nobody will know. And even if you're a quiet, nice, humble person, I want you to find a way to be able to talk about yourself. Even if you need to have a friend talk about you, right? Even if you're just going to write it in an email. When somebody tells you you did a good job, the answer is not, it was nothing. When somebody tells you you did a good job, you don't say all the things that went wrong. Well, I could have done this, I should have done that. Have you ever heard a man do that? No way! When somebody says, good job, say thank you, I worked really hard. Right? So, communicate your achievements and aspirations. And the second is to have both mentors but also something called a sponsor. Anybody know? I don't know what the word is in Ukraine. What is a sponsor in a career? You know this term? I'll explain it, and maybe you have a word for it, or maybe you know it. I find that most people don't know what this is. All right? And we know from our research that men are more sponsored than women, and women are over-mentored and under-sponsored, and that this difference makes a difference in the careers of women. Okay, what is it? So a mentor, right, you go have coffee with them or you meet them and they give you some advice, or you say, I'm having a bad day, and they say, okay, try this, don't give up, you know, right? A mentor is really important. You can have lots of different kinds of mentors, right? Experienced mentors, people who tell you what to do. A sponsor, so a mentor is a private relationship, right? Giving me advice. A sponsor is someone who talks about you in public and makes you visible and gives you opportunities. In the back of the room is a woman whose name is Yulia. She works at the U.S. Embassy. I get to travel all around the world and work with people who organize my events. She's one of the best people I've ever seen at her job. Her boss's boss's boss is sitting right here, right? So I'm taking this opportunity in a small way to make her know what I think of her, right? This is being someone's sponsor. Now, I don't have any power with Karen, so it helps. It's nice. She wants to know that her people do a good job. Maybe it's a factor, but I don't have any power. So the sponsor has to have power, right? They're the person in your company and they say, we need somebody to do this work. And they say, give it to Elena. And everyone says, oh, she's too young. She can't do it. Why would we give it to her? They say, no, you give it to Elena. She can do it. Or they say, well, we don't have any money for raises. And they say, no, Elena, she needs a raise. That's what a sponsor does. They talk about you, not to you. Okay? So when we sum this up, and I'm closing because I want to ask you what your questions are. All the detailed advice is in the book. All the tips are in the book. All the stories are in the book. And there's all these exercises. You can every day work on your own progression. But we only have this time together. So I want to answer your questions. And I want you to think about how can you be valuable in what you do and visible so that you can get what you want. And remember, okay, that you're not leaving here until you have something that you're going to do, like heirs merit, something little tomorrow, right? And it doesn't have to be something I said. Maybe somebody told you something before you've been intending to do. But, make a commitment. Karen, she's put a lot of effort into me being here. It's like I put a lot of effort. America House, it's like you put a lot of effort. And, if we just go home, oh, she was a very interesting speaker. She's nice, Okay, great. What did we accomplish, right? I'd rather gone to bed, right? I could get some rest. Okay? All right. I would love your questions. And we have some mics. I'm going to get my headphones on. And thank you. Go for it. Yeah, great.
Я хотіла би у вас спитати, як бути із відчуттям, коли ти думаєш, що тебе за спиною обговорюють і говорять про тебе у негативному руслі, навіть якщо ти розумієш, що насправді, можливо, воно такого немає. Тобто, насправді, тим людям до тебе немає діла взагалі.
Okay, so for every question, I'm going to give you lots of different ideas, and some will work for you, some will work for somebody else, maybe none will work for anybody, but maybe they're going to give you a different idea, right? So you're going to think about, what can I use from this idea versus, no, that doesn't work, okay? So, first of all, know, everybody here, 80% of the decisions that are made about you and your career are made in a room where you are not there. You are not there. So if they're telling bad, wrong things, it doesn't matter. It matters, right? It's very important, correct? Okay, so here are all the questions I would ask myself. Is it one person? Is it many people? Why are they saying this? Is it because they're a bad, evil person? Is it because they're afraid? Is it because, I try to understand what's their motivation. Because if I don't understand their motivation, I can't change it. Like, if I keep telling them, you're not saying, this is not true, and they believe it, it doesn't help. So, my options are to understand, to confront them in a nice way, and say, not you are saying this about me, but I think that I have a reputation for this. Can you tell me why that is and what I can do about it? To go to somebody else and explain that. To go to a friend who is an advocate of yours and tell them so they will talk to these people. Another option is, heck with them, I don't need to work at this company. Right? Because you are amazing and you have your own skills. And if people who work with you don't value you, you have choices, right? So I try to understand what it is. I try to see what is my part in that. I always think when there's a problem between two people that probably I own 50% of it. It's nice to blame them, easy. But probably I did something, unless the person is just crazy wacko bat, probably I did something. So can I work on that? Can I talk to them in a different way? Can I talk to other people? Or should I leave? Okay? What else? Yeah.
I would like to... hello. My name is Maria. I'm working in oil and gas industry.
Yep. Happy?
It's about like man.
Man, yeah.
I'm only one woman in the group of 15 men with the European education who speaks English, and others, none of them speak English at all. So it's a big disadvantage for such a culture, yes, because they remember this always. And the question is following. What... okay, you know that you have not the best reputation because you are thinking out of frames. You can work with, in my case, I can easily work with American specialists, professionals who are like sponsors of me. They wanted to work exactly with me, not with that guys. But in the team, when I try to help to make some, to give some piece of advice from my background, they just told me be quiet. So how to cope with such situation?
Okay. First of all, I should have said this in the answer to the question. So when you're giving advice like this from the stage and you're just saying things, I don't want you to think that I think it's easy. Oh, you should just do this, right? I want you to know that I acknowledge the situation is very difficult. I have a few minutes. I'm giving you some advice, but that I know it's very complicated, right? But I'm trying to give you something to be helpful. Okay. So we're not being successful. Again, I say to myself, what does this person want to accomplish, right? This guy who tells me to be quiet, shut up. I say to him, do you want this? Is this your goal, or are you trying to do whatever? Yes. Well, here's an idea that's going to help you accomplish that. Versus here's my idea. Okay? If I'm still not making any headway, he's already a jerk. He's already telling me to be quiet. What do I have to lose? So now I might say to him, you know what? I feel that whenever I'm trying to be helpful to our team, you're discounting what I'm saying, and this is not helpful to our team. Can I ask you why you do that? And then he doesn't say anything. You just look at him. And then you just keep looking at him. And then you just look at him some more. Probably he's not going to do it again. Okay, my third alternative, men, this is where you come in handy. When somebody is discounting someone on your team, man or woman, and necessarily saying bad things about them, or telling a colleague to be quiet and not give their input, or they're saying something sexually laden, not nice, it's like it's happening in the US a lot right now, and you just are there. You're not supposed to be a bystander. You're supposed to be a witness. You're supposed to do something. And you have to decide for the good of the team that you are going to have courage to stop the jerk, right? And you can do that in many ways. You can just say, hey, dude, that's not cool. Or, that's not nice. Or, no, we don't talk like that. Or, I want to hear, I'm sorry, tell me your name. Maria, I want to hear what Maria has to say. Or you can talk to them in private and say, I think Maria has some good ideas. Can we please try, right? So as colleagues, we need to help each other. I have a crazy story for you. It just came in my head, but I'm going to tell it. So I had a client who, and then I'll go to your questions. I had a client who went to a meeting with some people that worked for him, and it was 3 men and 1 woman. And the 3 men and the 1 woman did a terrible job in the meeting. And after the meeting, the 3 men and the boss went to the bathroom, and while they were standing there at the urinals, he said to them, that was terrible. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done this. He kept intending to tell the woman the same feedback, but he never did, right? So the next time they had the same kind of meeting, who do you think did a good job? The man. Who didn't do a good job? The woman, because she didn't have the feedback. So the manager, the leader, made a mistake because he didn't talk to the women. But the peers also, they just let her, not do a good job. And because she didn't do a good job, they didn't do a good job, right? So we have to look out for each other. Okay, more questions, yeah?
Hi.
Hi.
It stopped working, thank you. A small thing before question is that thank you a lot for the book.
Oh,
for Ukrainian version, I would happy to have English version actually, but thank you for Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Like I can give it to my sister, for example. She doesn't speak English. But my question is this one. It's quite sensitive because it really touches money.
Yep.
So I'm asking about bargaining power. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. My name is Katerina. I'm working in public health.
Okay.
but I think the problem is common. So how you, when you get the offer, for example, and you see that you want more, you deserve more, and you think in the job you're going to do, people get more, some benefits and a salary. How you approach it?
Great. Okay, again, lots of ideas. You pick the ones you like or maybe come up with more. Okay, first a side note. One of the best things that you can do for each other is to decide that you're going to make a compensation pact with someone. So, for example, you work in public health. I assume you have a specific kind of a role. You will find somebody, preferably a man, and you will say, you are a trusting relationship with that person. You say to them, look, let's make a deal. Every time you have an offer, you're going to tell me what you're making, your salary. Every time I do, I will tell you, and we will keep sharing information. I know 2 people who did this, and in their career, they kept track of knowing the information and what they bargained for. It equaled $1 million to each of them. $1 million. They each, by the way, became a CEO, but each time they knew. Okay, so that's one strategy, but okay, I don't have anyone for the compensation pact, so now I need to have information, right? About what are other people making? What are they getting? And I have to find a way to get this information. For example, in the US, it's not difficult. There are sites you can go. Maybe it's more difficult here, but we are undeterred. We're going to find information, okay? So I have a little information. It's not like I think I should be paid more money. No. Okay. Now I'm in this situation. I'm not going to talk about I deserve more, I'm going to work hard. No. I'm going to say, you know, I really appreciate this offer. I know you've put a lot of consideration and thought into it. I was thinking that the offer would be $100,000 plus these things. This is what I was expecting. How do we bridge this difference? Because I would really like to take this job and I would really like to do this work for you. But I was thinking $100,000 and you're saying 80. So what can we do to bridge the difference? And then what do I do, Maria? Zip my mouth. I zip my mouth. I just look. I smile. I look. Okay? Here's what we know. In 80% of cases, men negotiate for more money. In 80% of cases, men get more money. In 20% of cases, women negotiate for more money. And in 80% of those cases, they get it. So the answer is, in 80% of the cases, whether you're a man or a woman, you're going to get it. You just have to say. But people say, I'm going to work very hard. I have, I've been here for 5 years. I don't care. I don't care that you have a mortgage, whatever. That's your problem, not my problem. So it's like, I want to do this work for you. I'm going to produce these results. This is what I was thinking. This is what you were thinking. How do we make an agreement? And back to the lady over here, if they're constantly not going to give me what I think I'm owed, then I have to think about something else, right? What else? Yes, please. Are we good on time? Yes, we are. We have maybe this last question, and then I'm going to assign your books. I'm a very flexible, accommodating, open person, but I have this ridiculous pet peeve, which is if your name is not in your book, I'm not going to write your name. So it can't be spelling, I'll just sign my name, which is fine. But if you want your name to be in the book, please write it, okay? All right.
Okay,
thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marina, and I have one maybe stupid question. There are a lot of varieties how to solve the problems. We can find it always, but there one problem in common for all of us.
Yeah.
How to be not afraid, to make a first step.
Yeah.
This is the main question for all of us.
Perfect. Okay. What am I going to say? Lots of ideas, pick your idea, right? Okay, here we go. So this is how I think about fear. Fear is your friend. And we were made to have fear because it's really important for our survival and well-being. So if I'm walking down the street out here in Kyiv at night and all of a sudden I get afraid, do I try to overcome my fear or tell it, shut up? No. I think, oh, I feel funny, weird, I'm afraid. Okay, what should I do? I get my keys maybe, I put them like this. Have you ever done that, right? I'm going to punch the person. I start looking around, or I see some people, I maybe walk, pretend I'm walking with them, right? You know, I take some action. Okay, when you're afraid at work, you say to your fear, hello, fear. Thank you so much for coming. What do you want to tell me? What are you trying to tell me that I'm afraid of? Oh, I'm afraid that they're going to think I'm a fraud. I'm afraid that they're going to, maybe I can't do it. Maybe I'm afraid they're going to think that I'm some, you know, whatever. I'm afraid they're going to not give me the raise. I'm afraid, you know. And then you say, okay, so good. What am I going to do about that? Okay, well, I'm afraid I can't do it. Well, should I study more? Should I ask somebody? Should I try, you know, and deal with it like this. But don't say, I have to overcome my fear, or I should not be afraid. Do you think I'm not afraid? Oh. Do you think she's not afraid? Do you think she's not? There's nobody not afraid. If they are, they're crazy, right? And so we are afraid too. And it's not easy, but if you're, the other biggest fear we have in places like Ukraine and the places I work is we're afraid to fail. Like, we don't like failure. People ask me all the time, why are people successful in Silicon Valley? You know, one of the main reasons, they love failure. They love it. They love it. And they're talking about it all the time. Oh, I did this, it didn't work, this, that. And here we're too afraid to fail. And women like me, we stand here like I did and I say, I had this career in banking, and then I had my own business, and then I wrote this book, right? But in this story was a lot of failure and problems and issues and fears. And so we have to talk about our fears, and then we see, oh, everybody is afraid, and I listen to my fear, and I try to take a small action for it. Okay. Can we do one more? Okay.
And so where did you get inspiration to not fall down, to get your success? Where you find your inspiration?
From you. And that's the honest to God's truth, right? When I don't want to do anymore because it's really tiring. It's really tiring. I think about you and what you have to do every day to do what you do, and I think, well, they have to do all this, and all I have to do is get my butt in the plane and come and do, right? So then I do it. And when you don't have that thing, right, it's hard to keep going. And that's why, remember you asked me about those 4 things, you've got to find that. Thank you. All right, I'm looking forward to signing your books. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, America House. Thank you, U.S. Embassy. Most of all, thank you. So, thanks. Okay, where am I sitting?
Thank you, Rania. So actually, we'll just ask you to step out. There's a table right outside of this room. And so when you guys are leaving tonight, you can stop by the table and have Rania sign your book. Also remember to write your name on the Post-it note.